And we're live. What's up
Ooh.
for another Thursday night jam with RCJesus and SASquatch? And we got our guest Eric Reichert on today. He is currently being uber professional in the car and from a cell phone. So Eric is the dude. If you read the comments and stuff,
if you ever have a
guy that runs VONATS and has for God what since like 09 or something. It's been forever now.
08, the 16th year.
And he's got some history with Team Associated and car action and doing his own thing in the industry. So Eric's been at it for a long time too. He's an old head RC guy.
Yep.
So we'll let him introduce himself and explain some shit, and we'll go from there as usual.
Hi, everybody. I'm Eric Reichert. I am founder of the Vintage Offroad Nationals, which is now in our 16th year. I've been racing since I was 11. My first car was a Tamiya Hornet. I still have it. I took the opportunity when I got into vintage cars to restore it, and it's all back to the way it was when I was supposed to build it when I was a kid. And I just have this race, and I used to work in magazines. Some people might know me from that. I worked at RC Driver when it started off. I was there for like 4 years, and then I worked for Extreme for a little while, and then I went to work for Car Action, which was like my childhood dream job. Come to find out, my childhood had no idea what dreams were. So that was about it for me. But, I got into vintage when my son was born. I was a big oval racer for a long time. And when he was born, I had to stop racing. So I just kind of found my old RC10s and stuff like that. And I started buying parts and found this little community of guys online on rc10talk.com. And there's I think 5 or 10 of us at that time. And we used to talk every day and goof around and everything. And I thought it'd be kind of fun for us to get together somewhere. And that's how the Vintage Nationals was born.
Yeah. So what year was that on RC10 Talk? Like 05, 06?
Yeah, we were on there in 06.
Okay.
Yep. Took us a couple years to get together to do a race, but that was when we all kind of started joining on there. And that's when the whole vintage segment was kind of born.
Yep. That's when a lot of us, I think, like middle-aged Gen X guys kind of dug our old shit from childhood out and got back into it. It was like mid to late 2000s, it seems like.
Yeah, we were all about 25, 30 years old, a little bit of extra money in our pocket.
That's a big part of it right
there.
And parts were cheap on eBay. I was buying parts that would go for, I don't know, $300 now for like $6.
Oh, yeah.
I paid more in shipping.
Old hobby shop got out of business and just...
Yeah, people would just have I got this front end and rear end off in Edinger, but that's all I have left, and it'd go for $473 and I'd pay $6 in shipping. All right, now just the sway bars were the fortune,
Right. I remember I used to sit at work all day surfing eBay, looking at just odd lots of stuff for one shock color I needed.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was so cheap, you're like, okay, whatever, I'll buy the whole lot.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened is everybody was doing that, just buying whole cars just to get one part off it that they needed. And then we had all these extra cars. And so I figured, well, why don't we try and make them into runners and get together somewhere, screw around a little bit.
And for as much as a lot of people worry about the durability on modern tracks and stuff, as long as everyone's driving well, and most importantly, you're driving well, I don't find breakage to be much of an issue when I do VONATS, But I solid cars.
It's never an arm or anything. It's always some stupid belt or gear or servo or something.
A steering bell crank.
Yeah, some dumbass pushes the steering bell crank wrong and breaks it.
Some guy with gorilla hands and his steering bell crank.
Yeah. Everybody likes to get their bell cranked though.
So I like my bell cranks nice and tight.
What's up, Reckless? How you doing?
Oh, Nick likes to snap them, so watch out.
I got 250 and a few hopes left in my account. Some days it's like that, Reckless. Some days it's like that. So you also did, God, what was that model? The RC10.
The classic with it, yeah. So associated.
One of the few I don't have. What'd you call it? It was something like a 3LO or something like that, right?
What's that?
The one you did back in the day and sold the parts for and stuff. There's the BJ4.
My car. So the TC30. So that was really my car. That was a guy named Dan Burnham. He used to be up in Michigan. And before there was 4-wheel drive cars associated, they all ran Yokomo, and then I kind of started falling behind. And times kind of changed, and they were all just running all over the place. So he came with the TC3 had come out, and he created a little 4-wheel drive buggy out of them and stuff. And Dan and I met when I was an RC driver because we were trying to get 4-wheel drive cars together. Just like they were trying to do like 4-wheel drive shootout. It never worked out, but he sent me a kit and I built it and everything, and I really liked the car. And that was the year that the Road Nationals were here in Connecticut. So I was like, well, I'll run that car, and I ran it for him. And it was like, I was like an oval racer, so I was sponsored for all this oval stuff. And all of a sudden I had him. He gave me a car, and Panther tires, if you remember Kent from Panther, he sent me tires and stuff. And before I knew it, I looked like a real pro racer. I had no idea what I was doing. So I went to Road Nationals and raced in that, like I didn't belong in. Had a good time with it and stuff. And then Dan and I just became really good friends over the years. At one point, he was going to close his machine shop and move to, I think, Arizona or somewhere like that. I said, what are you going to do with all your car stuff? And he says, well, I'm probably just going to throw it all out, or sell it or whatever. I don't know if anybody wants it. And I'm like, well, I'll take it. So, I always kind of wanted to have my own little like RC company. So I bought all this stuff up thinking I'd make remake the cars or whatever. And then I just sort of made like a bunch of them and never made the rest of them. That's all just a big pile of stuff in my basement.
I know. I got a Honda every year. Like, you got to get a kit together for me one of these days, because that's a rare car and I don't have one, so I need one.
Yeah. So I've got when he sent me all his inventory, I had enough stuff to build about 20 cars. I think I've built like 5 of them and sold them. The hardest part was kind of, honestly, it's like the stupidest thing, but it was like counting out the screws and like making sure all the right screws were there.
Oh yeah, that's tedious.
It's just tedious, but then it's like, I had to order screws from McMaster Car and then like try and figure out like, okay, is this really what they need? And what comes from the sedan and stuff like that. But I've got enough stuff to make about 15 more cars, and I'm like missing like 3 parts. That's the stupidest things. I'm missing
okay. I have lots of parts that are standard AE parts.
Yeah, I'm missing like a steering thing and like some little bushings or something for the steering rack, and like some other dumb little part, or like net inlets. Literally like 100% of what's holding up ever selling those cars. So,
all right, well, you need to sell me one with those missing parts, whatever, and I'll figure it out.
I've got a few guys that like check in like once a year on Facebook. They're like, hey, like, did you ever get those parts? I'm like, no. I got poor Cedric out in France that he's been asking me for nothing more than literally a scan of the manual for it so he could build his. And I just like keep forgetting to send it to him and everything else. So
you're such a dick.
A little all over the place. That's why I'm doing a Zoom RC show in the middle of the dark here.
Hey man, that's how we roll,
How we roll, literally.
Yeah, I'm super psyched for the race. So why don't you give everybody the skinny on VONATS and stuff? I've been talking about it, but you might as well go over the classes and some of the rules and that basic stuff for everybody. So, the man himself.
I like to fancy myself a hater of rules. So I made this vintage race up, and we have 6 classes. 6 classes? 7 classes.
Yeah,
7 classes right now. But guidelines. It's just sort of like, if you want to call them rules or whatever, but just a little so that your car, whatever, just keep everybody under control and stuff. But I don't really like rules. I'm not about to start attacking anybody for anything, whatever.
Yeah.
But we have 2 different days. The first day this year, it's a little different. We're going to do the first day this year. It's going to be all the racy stuff. So like 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, and stadium truck and stuff like that. Your typical RC10s, 10Ts, things like that.
Yeah.
They all run 17.5 motors for 2 wheels and stadium truck. Stadium truck is modified, right? No. That's 17.
It better not be. I bought 17 and a half.
16 years, folks. I still don't know my own rules.
Yeah.
But then 4-wheel drive obviously runs 10.5 motors, so they're a little faster and stuff like that.
And then classic is 13 and a half, right?
Yeah. So then on the other day we have the classic 4-wheel drive, which we have a class called classic, which is like for like the plastic like entry level cars and stuff like that. But then we have 4-wheel drive classic, which is actually just for older competitive 4-wheel drive cars like YZ10s and stuff. And now when it's 13 just because those cars are a little less pretty than like a double X4 and things like that, so they don't can take such a beating. But beyond those, we have heavy metal, which is like one of my favorite classes. It's all monster truck racing, so it's broken up into two classes, sort of like Le Mans racing is, like and you
Drive to somewhere with better service.
oh no, am I breaking up?
Now you're better.
Can you hear me?
Worked.
Somebody just hold on. Somebody decided to take the back roads home.
Oh, Jesse, saboteur. What's up, Juice Box? What's butter sausage? And I'm surprised you're not talking about balls. What's up, Sean? Fish and Bill, what up? Eric will be back with us eventually.
Come on.
Damn Connecticut internet.
Cell signal strikes again.
Yeah.
How about now? How about now?
We got no video, but we got good audio. You're good.
All right. So, anyone wants to see my ugly face anyway. So, just on a side note, we just drove by like a 5-point here on the side of the road, which is not very common. You know, you should don't see it around.
And he's gone again.
Yeah, he's gone again. They must
Damn it,
have-
Eric.
Which is like all sport level cars and stuff.
Oh, he's back.
And then we got a 4-wheel drive classic, which is classic 4-wheel drive, which is like older race cars, 4-wheel drive cars. And heavy metal, which is broken up into two classes. We got Clodbusters, one subclass, and like Blackfoot, stuff like that. Race there.
Oh.
They all race at the same time.
Yeah.
And then
Chris is bringing me a J Concepts for heavy metal this year to run.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. So I guess Chris, who's like a big Clod guy, always brings me a truck every year. So last year was the first year. He's brought it 3 years in a row, and every year he kicks my ass. The last year I finally beat him. No trucks, and now he's like, well, I don't know, you're gonna beat me again. It's like my favorite thing to do now.
Yeah.
So,
Well, then you were talking about, I may end up doing it one of these years, but you're talking about classic 4-wheel drive. I'm kind of tempted to run this, but it's brand new still.
That's like putting $1 billion bill on the track.
and super rare. So
Yeah.
I don't really want to, but I kind of want to, because I tried to sell it for pretty cheap for like $900 like a year ago when the market was hot. Which is cheap for that car, you know that. But I was like, one of my friends will buy it, whatever. And then sell. So I'm like, oh fuck it, maybe I should just use it.
Yeah, don't run that thing. You can't run that car.
Watch all those guys lose
I
their
won't
shit.
allow it.
Oh, it would melt the internet down as bad or worse than when I did no Vaseline. I would be the most hated man in RC for like 6 months again, which is always hilarious. So I wouldn't mind, but instead I'll be running the Turbo Optima this year, maybe next year. But I'm gonna piss people off too. I found this in my parts list today. Nice factory theme, carbon fiber rear tower. It's out of it was new in the package.
Oh, you fancy.
Not anymore. There's no point in having the parts if I'm not going to use them, right? Like, I don't plan on selling them, so it's whatever.
You'd be like that guy that's like selling his stock for $80 or something.
Yeah, I could be that guy, but that's too much of a headache, man.
Yep. But we almost forgot my favorite class for Sunday. My other favorite class is wheelie. We almost forgot to talk about wheelie class.
Wheelie is my favorite. That's so much fucking fun.
It's fun. So that class. We do like Lunchbox, Midnight Pumpkin, like the wheelie cars. But then a couple of years ago, to me, it started coming out with those comical cars. They're kind of like little wheelie cars too. So since they're vintage themed, we let them in there too, and it kind of works out good because on one side you got the the comical cars are so slow, but they handle good. And the wheelie cars are faster, but they handle terribly. So it all kind of balances out.
Yeah, you can't turn. The comical cars kick our ass because they turn so well.
Yeah, they turn really well, but they're slow as all hell,
The last couple of years, though, it's been like top 4 comicals, back 4, Lunchbox and Midnight Pumpkin. I'm like, damn, these comical bastards.
That class is always the best because me, Jess, and Eric, my son Eric, all race it together. And it always ends up with like me and Eric like racing each other, like swearing at each other in the stand and like kicking him off of his car to the stand and things.
Getting in trouble with Ed.
Last year he got under my skin so bad that I went back to my pit with my broken car. I was like motherfucking him. And I go back up there and I'm screaming at him on the stand. And he comes down to corner marshal and I'm like glaring at him and everything. He got totally under my skin last year.
I remember it was fun. It's a bummer Dave's not going to be there this year.
Who's that?
DW.
Yeah. He's a busy boy these days, you know.
Yeah, moving and all that stuff.
Stuff like that. So
yep.
But yeah, he's a good boy. He's been pretty helpful with Eric. He wants to go to school for mechanical engineering, so he's been talking to him a lot about school and stuff.
Yeah.
Did I tell you the story about him from last year? So like everybody, you know, so everybody comes up with cars during the year and they send me pictures of stuff. And, you know, I always call it like everybody's got the secret sauce. Like, oh, this is the car that's going to dominate. This is the car. Well, he like took that JRXS and like built it into that like low C 4-wheel drive prototype car that they never made.
Yeah, that thing was badass. So much work.
Like the whole time he was doing it, he was like showing me, and he's like, you know, I just want to make sure I can run it, and blah blah blah. I don't want, you know. I said, sure, you know, and like, and he just shows up on Facebook as like DW Dave. You're like, okay,
yep.
Whatever.
Yeah,
like,
I didn't know where he showed up. Like, who the fuck is this guy?
So like, unless you're like abstractly into like mountain bike racing, you have no idea what DW Dave even means.
Yeah.
So this guy shows up and he's got those cars. I'm like, oh, that's that guy with those prototype cars. I go over and I introduce myself to him, and you know, we've been talking a lot and stuff, and we get talking. I'm like, oh,
and he's gone again.
Always at the worst part.
I know, right? Always in the middle of a good story. I'll give him a second.
Geez, every time, man.
Yeah. Okay. Try again.
How about now?
Yeah.
So, we can hear you now.
We're almost into like civilization again. Thank God.
Good.
So anyway, so I was talking to him like, all right, I'll see you later. I sit back down in my pit. Like an hour goes by, he comes over and he's just like he must have like had like 10 minutes of the conversation by himself, like over at his pit. He comes over, he's like, you know, Sam Dodgeable, like starts talking about like people that I knew from when I used to work at Cannondale Bikes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, I'm like, he's never like mentioned this to me ever in his life. Like all the time we talked or anything. I'm like, how do you know him? He's like, oh, he's like, you know, I'm in like mountain bikes and blah blah blah. You know, I work in the industry and stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And he's like, yeah, Sam told me that we both went to Wentworth Institute.
Yeah, that was hilarious when you guys figured that out.
Oh yeah. So we figured out that not only did we go to the same college, not only were we there at the same time, but we also had like all these mutual friends. And like the summer that I stayed up there with my friends, lived there, I actually his spot in the apartment. So he ended up having to live down the street with my other friend. So it was just like we had like this whole like interwoven life together. Like what? I'm like random, like so random. And then so I'm like, I reached out to my friend that we both knew, and I'm like, hey, look who I met. You know, Dave Weagle and blah blah blah. He's like, you know, he's famous, right? And I'm like,
yeah.
He's like, look up DW Dave. And I'm like, so he's got like a Wikipedia page for his like he designed like this like what's now like the industry standard for like mountain bike racing suspension. So like,
yeah, he's a smart dude.
He's like a huge deal in like
I ran into him. It was Thursday night last year at the DoubleTree, and I got in. I stopped at the airport, hit the weed store, went to the hotel. And I'm chilling and bored. No one's around. I can't get a hold of you or anybody else. So I'm like, well, fuck it. I'll just go have a drink at the bar and meet some people. So I'm bullshitting with a couple of good old boys at the bar on business and having a good old time just to meet people and having a couple drinks. And this dude walks down and orders some drinks. I'm like, hey, you here for VONATS? He's like, yeah, actually I am. I'm like, fucking awesome. Let's get wrecked. He was like, okay. And we partied our asses off. We were instant fast friends. It was a great time.
Yeah. That sounds about right for Dave.
Yeah.
And you, actually.
Yeah, like we're two peas in a pod, Dave and I.
Yeah.
We
So
had a
are you
great time.
all? You've been polishing up your pennies. You saved all for 2 years to hit the weed store again?
Actually, Massachusetts isn't that expensive. It's California that's a ripoff. Massachusetts is pretty cheap. I was impressed.
Yeah. I remember how excited you were when it was like first legalized here.
Oh yeah, because I'm like, all right, now I can smoke weed at VONATS. Fuck yeah.
It's super cheap here in Oregon.
Yeah.
Oh, dirt cheap. Yeah. Yeah. There's too much of it.
A lot of places just tax the hell out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan's not too bad.
Yeah.
They tax it like 26%, so it's a chunk, but it's not outrageous.
They legalized it in Massachusetts. And Connecticut was like, hold my beer. So yeah, they tax the crap out of it here. So
yeah. Here in the Northeast, it's the land of taxes.
Yep. So bad though. It's a nice place to live. It's expensive as shit, but
It is fucking expensive up there.
It's like here too. Same thing. You pay to live here.
Yeah.
Like we don't have sales tax. Our property tax.
We don't have sales or income tax.
Our property.
Well, what am I saying? We have sales tax, but not income tax.
So Nick probably knows this. I don't know if SASquatch does, but like it was a big surprise to me when I became an employer to find out that I had to pay an employee tax.
Oh God!
Do you have that in Florida?
Oh yeah,
what kind of bullshit?
Yeah,
all this time I
just have employees.
Sure, they're the most expensive thing on the planet. I thought ex-wives were the most expensive thing. Employees are way more expensive.
So that's a lot of money to pay people. Way more than what you pay them.
Sometimes employees complain just as much too.
Yeah. I used to look at my pay stub and like think it was highway robbery how much the government was taking out of my paycheck. I didn't realize that my boss was also kicking in like another third.
I had no idea either.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was like, you're taxing me and him? Holy shit.
Right. I have a whole new appreciation for everybody I ever worked for.
Your view on owners and employers and stuff drastically changes when you become one. You're like, oh, so much of what they did makes complete sense now.
Yeah, now I know why they were always so pissed.
Yeah. Oh, classic.
Yeah.
That's life. All right, well, it's officially used. It's on the truck now.
All right. It's devalued it by like 300%.
Yeah. Actually, I increased its value by like 300% to me because now it's not just on a wall.
True. You did stick it on that car, so now you can sell that car for like $1,000 or something.
This carbon fiber tower right here is just gonna make me win stadium truck. That whole part, that and the titanium turnbuckles, man, it's on.
How about some painted bodies? You got any painted bodies for these cars? I see a lot of cars with clear bodies and stuff. Oh, there we go.
I got bodies. There's bodies all over.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, it could be
bodies all over.
Body.
Dead bodies everywhere.
So, like back in the day, I can't believe that there's back in the day stories for the vintage nats, but like maybe like the third or fourth year we were doing it. This guy that's no longer with us passed away, but Steve wanted to come race with us and stuff. And he's like, it was like right when cab forward bodies started coming out, like those like pro line bulldogs, like ugly station, truck bodies they're making. And he had like a 10T, and he's like, I can't find a body for it. Can I just run a normal body out? I'm like, dude, whatever, just come run your truck and have fun. And I didn't really like think that he was gonna like buy one of these like brand new like cab forward bodies and like stuck it on his 10T. It's like and then he like somehow made every single picture of like stadium truck class, for like every single one. There's like all these like old looking trucks and then there's cool paint jobs and stuff. And then this like the solid green cab forward like pro line bulldog mess on the truck.
That's not vintage.
Yeah. Like, what's this guy doing?
What a hack.
Yeah. He sure was.
He sure was. How many people were at like the first couple of years?
I'm not even gonna lie, about the same as we get now.
Really?
Everybody's always like got some new idea for me and like some other way that things should go. And Everybody knows better than the guy who actually does it, right? So
And has been for years.
But man, I have tried. The thing is, like I always just tell people no because I don't feel like just debating it over and over again. But
Yep.
like I've tried everything. Like we did it the first few years. I bought a magazine ad 1 year. 1 year, I like local radio station like bought like advertising on the radio station to try and like find people like old things. I even did 1 year. I did the like when you're sitting in the movie theater before the movie, they have those like the movie trivia and like that awful like Hey song playing and like I had like the flyer for the race up there for like maybe I could find people at movie theaters. Apparently, I've like tried every way of advertising this race to get more people. I've tried, I've done every podcast and whatever else there's been. It's always kind of been about the same amount of people. It's funny. It's like even if you lose 10 people, you get 10 different ones. So
yeah. It's crazy how hardcore young Nick has gotten into it.
Yeah.
He's racing vintage shit at the Nationals now and stuff, like the Roar Nationals and whatnot. I'm like, that's awesome.
He started his own little business making parts and stuff even,
Yeah.
So yeah, he's going to come up too, along with you. He's also sponsoring a class this year, which is cool.
What's he sponsoring?
I'm embarrassed to say that I don't remember what either of you were sponsoring off the top of my head.
I don't remember what I'm sponsoring either, so it's okay.
Smoking weed tonight. So,
that's every night.
I got it all written down, and that's all that matters. So that when I say it, when it counts, that's what I got it right in front of me.
The way she goes, boys.
Years that have come out of it, stuff. The people that come every year, and like it's funny. It was always my running. Like the first few years, it was my running joke that this was the world's most expensive birthday party.
World's most expensive birthday party.
I lost so much money the first few years that we did this. I like spent like $1,000 on trophies, $1,000 t-shirts. I think I'd make like 500 left.
Yeah. You probably had less sponsors the first few years too, right?
Well, I had no sponsors the first like handful of years.
Oh well, yeah, Jesus, that makes a big difference.
Yeah, that's really what.
And we lost you again. You'll be back in a moment.
He'll be back soon enough.
He just needs a quick technology break every few seconds here. I thought he was supposed to be getting out of the boonies.
Right.
I realized the other night when I was stickering this, I had two bodies that Dwayne had done, that one and this one, and I grabbed they're two different bodies just slightly, and I grabbed the wrong stickers out of the bag. So the stickers that I put on this don't even belong on this body, but they work, so fuck it.
Did Dwayne paint that body?
Dwayne did. He paints all my bodies pretty much.
That's a really nice looking body.
It is. It's the box art, and then he added his own little flair to it.
Yeah, it's cool.
All shaded in, and it's dope, man. He does a nice job on this.
He's painting like a big boy these days.
Yep, he's gotten good. He paints for a lot of people now.
Yeah, he does. He's a good boy. I'm glad he's coming up this year too.
Yeah, because he hasn't been since before COVID too, right?
Yeah, no, I haven't. Well, we saw him down in Florida, but I haven't seen him at the race in a long time now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it'd
be
nice.
I think 2019 or something, 18 maybe was his last year.
Yeah, that was what I was saying before. Is like back in those days, it was just like this little birthday party or like early 2-month or 3-month early birthday party to throw myself. But we started kind of catching traction and stuff, and started getting a lot of people I didn't even know coming to the race and things like that. It was kind of fun, but it's been really cool to get to know people from all over the world and different people that I probably would have never met otherwise.
Yeah.
See them every year and stuff.
People you've talked to on old school RC for like 4 years or something or more, but they live 2,000 miles away.
Yep. You and I wouldn't know each other,
Yeah. Well, we probably would, but
yeah.
We both get around enough that we'd have been like, hey, I'm in your neck of the woods. What are you doing? Let's go get a drink.
So you have a VONATS story to talk about. Why don't you tell everybody about the lobby wedding party that came in that one year?
Oh God. They didn't realize that we run the DoubleTree, those sons of bitches. It's our hotel when we're there.
Yeah.
It took over our bar. That one kid, like I ended up pretty twisted, so I only vaguely remember some of this shit.
We convinced them that you really were Jesus.
Yeah.
And then somehow Star Wars got into it because then you could use the Force to open the front door.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about the front door thing. That was awesome. This is like some 21-year-old kid who's all wasted from a wedding, dude. Just got right in his head. He was like, bullshitting with us for like an hour or two.
Yeah. But he's like, so what you don't understand is that Nick is sitting in a lounge chair that's like arguably 50, 60 feet away from the door. And every time somebody would walk near the door, he'd make like the 2-finger like Jedi hand motion to like open the door for them. Without even like breaking sentence or like whatever he was doing, just like wave over, like over here, just like wave, and the door would open, people would come through.
We have a lot of fun at VONATS.
So fun.
That was quite the time when that wedding party was there. There's like 80 people from the wedding party getting hammered in that little bar.
Yeah, was that the same year as the quinceanera that was also going on?
Was that year? I thought that was a different year.
I can't even remember anymore.
There was like a prom or some big dance thing, cotillion or something going on.
Right.
There's always something going on that weekend.
That hotel is that hotel is truly, and I can attest this because I've tried to stay in other hotels and I've like looked at them, and long before I ever did this race up there, I used to go up there for other races and stuff. That is the only like nice hotel there is. All the other ones are like, oof, they're rough.
Well, and they know it too with the prices they charge.
Yeah. They don't even apologize. I mean, it's like they're like 3 times as much as every other hotel around there. But
it's more than I spend anywhere else I go. It's like $180, $190 a night. I'm like, God damn, Pittsburgh.
They are triple the price, but they're at least 9 to 15 times nicer than the other hotels. So
yeah, it is a good hotel. So that's good.
But so because of that, it also like this is also the beginning of wedding season because like the leaves start changing up there and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why there's always weddings at that hotel when we get there.
Yeah, it's always slamming.
I don't know if you know about that. I don't know if you know this about that hotel. The DoubleTree life hack is if you ask them, they have warm cookies behind the counter when you check in.
Yeah.
It's like
any of the Hiltons will give any of the Hilton chains will give you cookies and chips and peanuts and water and shit for free if you ask them when you check in. Yep.
Yeah.
I always take advantage of that.
We were there, they would give you like a whole gift bag of stuff. It was like a little bag of like last year it was like literally like, would you like some cookies? And I'm like, sure. And she like just doled it to me. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'm eating this now.
Well, did you get like the presidential suite again?
No, we did not. We saw they actually have like did you see that thing on there? They have like an actual presidential suite that's like, what was it, like $1,000 or something a night? It was bananas, however much it was, but it's like rooms, a hotel room.
Yeah.
No, we got a normal hotel room as we usually. No, actually, we get that little. We got so Eric, my son comes with me, and
you had the giant suite the one year.
Did we?
Yeah.
Yeah. We got that kind of again, I guess, this year. As my son, who's also named Eric, I'm not talking about myself in the third person for those that don't know him. He's now 17, so he hates sleeping in the same room as his father because his father like snores and like coughs up stuff in the middle of the night, gets up 100 times to take a leak and everything. So, and so we got this room now where it's like a little like partition, like somewhat of like 2 rooms, hotel room, so he can sleep in one when we're in the other room.
Yeah.
So the exciting news is we're almost home. So this
yay! So then you can show us some cool shit because Eric has a lot of cool shit too.
This like spooky story Zoom call lighting that I've got going on will probably end in a second here.
All right. I gotta find out what length screws I need for this shock tower. And then I think it's done besides my fuck up on the bell crank. And electronics.
I got you for that. I got a whole box of those things.
I figured I was telling the boys at the shop. I'm like, yeah, you want to hear the dumbass shit I did? And I told them I snapped it off. They're like, oh. And I'm digging. I have white ones, but I want a black one, right? All the parts are black.
Do you ever realize that? Do you ever realize
this one off like a T3 or something like that? Buggy maybe. But it's not quite right. I'm like, I'm going to talk to Eric tonight on the show, and I bet he'll have like 8 of them that I can send.
A whole box of those things.
I explained your box that you bring to VONATS. I'm like, you see all these parts I have everywhere? He brings a giant box full of like the same amount of shit.
Well, that's what cracks me up is all you guys that come from Florida that you're all like, I can't send all this stuff up there. It's so expensive. I'm like, bro, I bring half the spare parts you guys use.
Yeah, you don't hear it from me because I know if I need a spare part, there's a 99% chance you got it.
All right, so we're gonna hear
bring some arms and shit like that I might need and whatnot. Turnbuckles, ball cups, because those are easy. And anything random, Eric will have it.
Yep. All right, say hi to the dogs. All right, going downstairs.
Yeah, get into the RC dungeon.
Oh, I wonder what can I flip the phone around on this thing like usual?
I don't know on a Zoom.
Let's see if it works.
Yeah.
What do you see? Look at all my beer.
I know. The beer man.
It's all the way down to the floor now. All right, so let's turn off the lights. Yeah, this pile of box was from when I got home from VONATS last year, and it's still exactly where it was.
All my cars, I came home and put them away where they were, and that's where they've sat.
Here's the door prizes my son won when I insisted that he doesn't need door prizes.
Yeah.
So here's my cars.
Just a couple.
Just a few, you know? Just a couple cars.
And at this point, are like old ones that are.
Yeah, the only modern
cars.
The only modern cars I have are like these two here, and like a rock crawler over here. But yeah, everything else is pretty much vintage cars. So
I didn't even know you had a rock crawler.
Dude, I got these 2 Element trucks right here. I got this. That's Eric's.
Good choice.
That's Eric's, and then this one's mine. But look, you see. So the cool thing with my rock crawler is it keeps my little RC28 with my paint scheme on it.
I got 2 of them over there.
So then Jess has one. Like here, this is. There you go.
Awesome.
Yep. I just went
I
out.
didn't know that's the RC24 kit or whatever. Or is that the RC28 that they sell?
It's just a little 28. No, it's just a little.
The associated. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. They somehow made like little clear bodies, so I got one and sent it to my painting guy in Florida, and he's like, "How am I supposed to paint this little thing?" So
who painted it, Brad? When he was still here?
Bill Zegers paints all my stuff.
Oh, okay. I don't know him.
Forever. He's done stuff for Car Action for like 30 years, I think.
Really?
And just when I worked at Car Action, I finally met him, and he was just one of those guys that was like super cool to talk to and stuff. And he's just always kind of helped me out, you know. He's a really good guy.
That's how it goes.
Yep. So
Nick, who's that guy that does the 24 scale or 28 scale associated replicas?
I can't remember his name. I should.
You talking about the guy that makes like the legit little RC10s?
Yeah.
His name is Nigel.
Nigel.
Guy.
What's the company name? I can't remember. What's it called?
NRC Projects.
Yep.
What is it again?
NRC Projects for like Nigel RC.
That's right.
Here's what happened. My little shock came up.
Oh no.
I thought it'd be fun to like
2-second fix.
I thought when these things came out, I thought it'd be so fun to like get a little like class these together just like for a goof and like try it on them. I think it'd be impossible. Have you ever tried to like drive one of these things like on like a real off-road track?
No, only around the shop and shit.
100% not meant for an off-road track.
They're kind of tiny, yeah.
Yeah. I don't like anything bumpy at all.
One of these years, I'll have my NRCs finished and bring them up and drive them.
It appears that, I'll say this.
Maybe we could get a class going.
It appears that somebody broke my car and then tried to put it back together here.
That sounds like a son move.
Yeah. It would seem that somebody broke my little shock and tried to just stick it back on there, and that's why it fell off when I touched it.
And then you gotta wonder now, like, how long has it been like that?
Forever. Well, so that's like the other thing we do is we take these, and I'll take you to the other side of my basement. Because my basement is literally 100% my stuff. Jess owns nothing down here. So over here on this side is my game room. So I have like arcade games. I have a pool table. I have those arcade games. And then well, hold on. Let me really set the atmosphere for you.
You got a bunch of LED lights.
No, I'll do you one better. And just in case you're ever like, hey, Eric, what time is it? And I'll be like, it's Miller time.
Yeah,
nice. That, right? But then look at this swanky panther, man. Look at that guy.
I see it up there.
He is pretty pimping.
That reminds me of the shit from Anchorman.
Yeah, exactly.
Sex Panther.
So, but 60% of the time, it works 100% of the time.
This is the appropriate racing venue for these little cars.
Yeah.
So we race them on the pool table.
Yeah, and it's not like there's a threat of them tearing through the felt or anything.
No, it's not. Yeah, they're not going to be ripping up anything.
Yeah.
It's like perfect for them, you know? So, yeah.
You make one of the holes the finish line, you got to put the car in the hole?
No, we just kind of just drive around on there a little bit. We usually like lay out
like we're playing golf. I mean, pockets.
Yeah, we twist up some t-shirts to make little walls and stuff.
Nice.
Here's my TC30, missing the rear wheels.
Of course, it's all jacked up sitting there.
Yeah, this is the body that
actually be the same way.
This body here is the body I ran at the Offroad Nationals I was talking about before.
Yeah.
So
that's still an older body too. That's not quite as cab forward as they got.
Yeah, that's 2005 bodies right there. That was a body. Josh Cyril made these bodies for this guy.
So they're custom made specifically for that car.
Yeah, he had a molding company for a while called CFAX, and he was making bodies for like aftermarket bodies. But then he was making the bodies for Dan.
Oh, I had no idea about that. I thought it was just a chassis kit. Yeah,
no, it was a chassis kit and the body and the whole thing. Yep. I have a first version one. This is my V1 TC30 here.
Yeah. So aluminum front shock tower looks like. Hello? Did you mute us? Eric.
So, hello.
You know what it is? It's the Wi-Fi here is terrible.
Oh, okay. Because the video was golden, but you just disappeared. I'm like, he fat fingered the mute button.
It's just the world. It's just the world against me as usual, you know.
It's been one of those days, right?
Right. Yeah, it sure has. So, and then I know the car everybody wants to really see is this one right here, which is actually, it's not this same one, but it's another one of Cliff's.
Yeah, it's Cliff's, right? Yeah.
Yeah, this was sort of like one of the first like production ones that he had. It's more production than not. So, but it's that, and then that was his radio that he gave to me with it. So, yeah, that is my DJ4, which is my favorite Jason Rona story. It's my story of how Jason Rona actually has a heart. He, when he was first making those cars, he, everybody wanted one. He had this like crazy waiting list for them. It was like 500 or 600 people, and it was the same time as the TC30, and I was like, oh, we could get one of those for our shootout. And I messaged him and I'm like, hey, I'm doing this whole thing and blah, blah, blah. And they did not advertise an RC driver or anything. And this dude literally bumped. And I don't know which pro racer, but some pro racer, because like Brian Kinwald obviously got his. And then like 2 or 3 people got theirs. And then I got like within like the first like 15 or 20 kits, I got a kit.
Nice.
And that was like still like associated driver deep. Like it was like not even like other people at that point. So he bumped a lot of people to give one to some little schmuck magazine guy. So
it's amazing what you can pull off when you're affiliated with magazines, huh?
Yep. Yeah. One of my friends put it perfectly. One of my friends I used to race with a lot. When he like first came over to my house, and they had like maybe been working at RC Driver like 6 months. I had all these like cars everywhere, like X-ray cars and 8-scale buggies and like all this stuff. Yeah. He was looking around and he goes, "Boy, you really stepped in some shit, huh?"
Good shit.
Yeah, it was a fun job. I miss doing that. It was a very fun time in my life, you know. But the pay was god awful, and the coworker. I'll be frank. The coworkers were god awful. So a lot of the coworkers sucked.
Yeah,
the people we worked for sucked. It was just the work was so awesome, you know.
Yeah,
but you know,
most of the coworkers would have been cool. Cool later.
You would think so. It's just that I was never one of the cool kids. So
was there a lot of ego and arrogance and bullshit?
Tons. You know, it's just very cliquey.
That's never fun. That's like, get the fuck away from me. We don't need to associate.
You have to remember a lot of them too all worked together at Car Action originally. So me not having come from the same crowd of people, I was always sort of like an outsider. And then
because RC Driver basically was a bunch of Car Action people that left and started RC Driver, right?
Yep, it totally was.
Yeah.
And I mean, those 2 guys were my friends. Greg and Bob both brought me in there, and like I had no riding experience. I had nothing.
Greg Vogel, but Bob who? Who's the Bob?
Bob Hastings. He was a guy. He was like a painting guy.
Name, but I don't know him.
Yeah, he used to do like all their painting articles and stuff. He was a fun guy to work with too. They're both friends from like racing.
He's the one
and stuff.
that you said paints your bodies and shit, right?
No, that guy's name is Bill Zegers. He lives in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, he lives in Boca. Bill from Boca.
Yep. By the Barry.
Yeah, they were fun guys. They just, you know, there's just a lot of weirdness that goes on with a lot of those folks, you know. And they generally don't have a whole lot of patience for somebody that's really opinionated and mouthy. So I went over like a fart in church. Go. I was like a big old wet fart in church.
Yeah.
So whatever. It was a good time. I got to travel all over the world, meet famous people. I never forget like the first time I had to like talk to Cliff Lett on the phone. I literally was like so starstruck. I was like such a dork about it. And I like took a picture of my phone, like my office phone, said Cliff Lett and had his phone number. I sent it to my best friend. I'm like, I can't even believe this is happening right now.
Yeah, it's like that when you're young sometimes. Because you were in like your late 20s, right?
Yeah, I was like 20. Let's see, 2003. I was like 27.
Yeah.
I don't even. That was like a lifetime ago.
I think back now. I heard something about like, oh yeah, way back in '92, and I'm like, way back in '92, and then I got to think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, 31 years. Fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be 25 years since the last century here next year.
Yeah.
That would just seem fucking crazy.
You remember how stupid all that was for like all the stupidity that we've kind of dealt with the last 3 years, but the last 10, 15 years, that was the stupidest. The Y2K, that was the dumbest.
Oh, that was hilarious. Yeah, everyone thought the world was going to end, planes were going to fall out of the sky, nukes were going to on.
Man. So many people.
Space station was going to fall out of orbit.
Oh my god, software garbage. I think Office Max and Staples were like behind the whole thing.
Right.
Bill Gates. We need to sell fresh computers.
I made our New Year's plans that year based around the fact that it was where we were going was right across the street from an ATM and a bank, because I was convinced that Y2K was going to make the ATM fire money out of it. So I was going to so like, you start counting down. It's like 3, 2, 1, Happy New Year, and I'd already be out the door and across the street.
I remember that year too. That was
very
disappointing. After I graduated high school, and we were at a big party, and came midnight. Music kept playing, lights were still on. We're like, all right, kept the party going.
We're still here. It's like that part of It's like that
computers
part in
and
war
buddies,
games when
and
they
we
realize that the computer simulation is really just a computer simulation. They're like, "Where's
Yeah. But
me and a bunch of my computer nerd buddies set up an old like 286 computer and just set it up, turned it on, like running Windows. And I remember we were actually sitting in the hot tub and we had it set up on the deck just to see what happened when midnight hit. And nothing. It just kept working. We're like, well, fuck, what a letdown, man.
well, and that's the thing. Like it was supposed to keep working. Everything was just supposed to reset to 1900.
Yeah,
Right.
they were like way
So all your bank accounts were going to get wiped out, and computer programs were going to glitch out because they didn't know what year it was.
Which is why my ATM plan was brilliant.
So you thought.
The banks were going to have a meltdown. Little did I know that was 8 years later.
Could you imagine? Yeah, right. Good one. But they didn't fire money out. They just took it from us.
They shoved it.
Like, hey, we need
as much
a
in
lot
their
of
pockets as they
billions.
could.
Give it to us out of taxpayer money.
Right.
By the
I'll
way,
say this.
we'll all get our $50 million bonus this year, right? Yep. Okay.
Yeah. My ATM story was a big disappointment, but that wasn't even the biggest disappointment of Y2K until just now when you told me that you were in high school when Y2K.
No, I was a year out of high school. I graduated in '99, so it was the following year.
How young are you?
I was a working stiff at a thermoforming plant.
Nice.
Working my way up to third shift foreman.
That's right.
And then I quit to go to college.
You're the effing new guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm one of the young guys at VONATS. Most of the fuckers are like 50.
Yeah. That's the thing that amazes me is there's a handful of guys that were like, I think about the fact of like, like the period that we're talking about is like essentially like 88 to like 92 is like really kind of the sweet spot of the whole thing.
Yeah.
That like a solid chunk of you guys that come to this were like small children in 88 to 92. Like I was at least
I was
like
7 in 88.
Yeah, like I had my driver's license in 92. So like like I could go racing and stuff. And I remember all this stuff pretty well. And it's like, there's a bunch of people. I'm like, this dude is like 30 years old. I'm like, what the hell does he know about 88 to 92?
We were there. I remember it vividly. Reading those car actions every month, like 400 times, cover to cover.
Yeah.
Just drooling over Clodbuster.
So the way I got into the whole magazine thing was that Car Action was based out of Wilton, Connecticut, which was like a half an hour from where I grew up. And the only track the track that I raced at was the only track that was kind of local to our area. Yeah. So they used to come there on, like we would race on Sundays and they would come there after racing like 4 o'clock in the afternoon with like whatever there was going to be in the next episode.
Oh yeah.
So we would see like what they were working on that, and it would be like 2 months before it came out. So like we saw like the Schumacher Pro Cat and all these cars that like nobody knew even existed.
Yeah, they're not supposed to be doing that. They're supposed to do it on closed tracks.
Right. But we were like, they're there taking pictures of it and stuff. And like I remember seeing those guys. It was like Chris Chianelli and like Steve Pond and those guys. And like this is like the funny thing about this track too is that Greg Vogel's dad ran the club. So it was like their track. So Greg and I were the same age, and we would like sit there, like he and I would sit there and look at those guys taking pictures. Like, oh, it's the coolest job ever on the planet. Like we were both like 12 or 13 years old,
Yep.
So it was pretty cool back then. Those were fun days. Like, yeah, it was a good time.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Son of a bitch.
Your axles don't have hexes, huh?
Well, I got the right pins. But they're 1/4 inch, not 3/16, because they're for the 10T. This is why I'm glad, like, it's Thursday, a week before I have to leave, so like I can order shit tomorrow and have it Tuesday or Wednesday and still have everything good to go. Usually I'd be doing this on like Tuesday before I leave and be like, oh, I'm fucked.
Well, I'll say this. These cars here are what I bring to VONATS there, and then like our wheelie cars and stuff, and like here's some other cars I bring. Those are exactly where they were put when we got home from the race last year, and they have not moved. And they will not be taken down from there until this weekend. I will not touch those cars until at least this weekend.
Well, and you've been running those for a while and have them pretty dialed.
Yeah,
now I've done enough VONATS that it's nice because like my 10T is pretty much ready to go. My graphite is ready to go. My wheelie class is ready to go. I mean, they need little things, but I could put them on the track and drive them as is right now if I had to.
Yeah. The big thing that happens,
but I wasn't at that point until this year. So now once I get the T2 rebuild, the B2 rebuild, shit, I'll be like you, where I can set it down, pick it up, do some shit in the hotel on Thursday night, and it's good to go.
Up until really like the last year or two, the biggest thing was that during the rest of the year, I would pillage all these little guys out of my cars, all my transponders out.
Yeah.
And going to other cars, and then there'd be no batteries, no car, half of them you missing speed control, none of them have transponders and stuff, so I have to do all that. But I finally have enough of them that I just leave them in there.
I'm cheap. Those transponders are way too much money. I just have it on Velcro and I switch it between every class. I
always tell people when they're getting ready to spend some money, like when they got some money burning a hole in their pocket and they go to the hobby shop, I always tell people the two best things you could buy with money in an RC shop is a good transmitter and transponders.
I think you only need one transponder. I've never had an issue taking 10 seconds to switch transponders over.
Yeah, it's so much nicer when you don't have to, though. Like all these cars
but it's so much nicer not paying $130 a transponder.
It is, but I mean, think about
it. Expensive, man.
You waste $130 in like a heartbeat on tires,
As he's putting a $600 shock tower on the back of his
because I paid probably $1 for that 15 years ago. Like who cares?
Yeah,
the transponder I have to go pay real worthless money for.
Right. Like, especially if you don't have a whole lot of time like me, like all these cars are ready to go. If they don't have a battery in them, that's it. They all have transponders, they all have receivers, they're all just waiting for a battery, and they're good,
Yeah.
So
that's how I keep everything else besides the transponder.
Every time I see
swapping ESCs and motors and receivers, that becomes a chore.
Yep. Every time I see a transponder on Facebook for sale, if it's under $80, I almost always grab it.
Oh, so you're gonna sell me a bunch of transponders for like $75 a piece?
No. Those are all.
I have 40 of them, and they're all mine.
I literally have like 40 of them. The best one, though. Where's my pit bag?
Now think about that. If you paid full price, that's like $5,000 in transponders.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, if I ever added all this up, I'd probably be sick to my stomach. But I'm trying to find. I had to
do that.
Yeah, you never total it up.
No,
never add it up. Never.
You never ask for receipts. Never add it up.
I had to add receipts. I always ask customers when I was behind the counter all the time. Still, you want your evidence or not? No, I'm good. I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought. I'm the same way.
Yes, here it is. So a while back, like back over the winter, we raced turf indoors here.
Yeah,
and so we need a transponder. So this guy right here, 288-4265.
Oh.
Is the very first transponder I ever bought.
It
still works. It's been in. I'm trying to think of when I actually bought it. Like maybe like 99 or 2000 or something like that. Maybe. It's been to 4 snowbirds with me. It was in my that car at the Roar Nationals. It's been to like races all over the world, and it's like never failed me. So I went into this kid and I was like, listen to me. I'm like, this thing, if you don't give this back to me, I'm gonna hunt you down and kill you. 288-4265.
Kid trying to race.
The two things I remember in this world: my license number and that transponder number, and that's it.
It's got sentimental value, you son of a bitch.
I have registered this to race at least 8 billion times that I've written down. 265.
It looks huge compared to the new ones, eh?
Right. Here, let me get this thing off of here. Because now they give you that little like mount thingy that makes it like look bigger. Let me see, turn it around.
That's what she said.
Look at the size difference.
Yeah, I thought it was like double or more the size.
Look, this one doesn't have the sticker on it anymore. I had to write 288-4265.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. All the little ears they're missing because they've been cut off. I kind of remember when I cut them off. I forgot why I did that. Oh, because it went up in a foam bumper, so I took them off of there.
Okay. Oh, you got wheels.
Oh, those are, yeah. So this is turf racing. So when you race turf, you own a paint can of acetone, you own a whole bunch of tires that you haven't glued yet, and you own a big stack of wheels.
You actually like acetone the tires off?
Yep. So what we do
works,
is
huh? I've never gotten it to work that way.
It works wicked good. So I don't know if I have any around here.
Do you do a vapor bath or do you actually put acetone on the bead? You do a vapor bath, probably, right?
No, I don't do that at all. I have literally this big paint can. Let me turn my thing around again. This big paint can, just a normal like Home Depot paint can full of acetone. And then I put
motherfucker.
No, God no. So then I put all the tires on a zip tie, and then they go down in there and they soak in it until they come off the wheel. And then what happens is you get them off and they got all this yellow crap all over them. It's all the dilute.
Yeah, and I guess if it eats the tire up some, who gives a shit? They're worn out junk tires anyway.
Well, yeah, I cut the tires off, and it's just the little bead part that's left on there. It helps that it doesn't take as long to take them off then.
How long does it take to soak? Like 10 minutes, or is it like an overnight thing?
No, I do like 24 hours.
Yeah.
Usually, but if I stick them in there, like, no lie, I've had some that have been in there for like 2 months. Things like that. They
feel right off clean.
Oh yeah,
tires a little soft, wheels a little soft.
Yeah.
like here, let me turn this around again.
The rim never smells right again.
This wheel here, this disgusting, snotty looking wheel, that was a 24-hour wheel, where this crystal clear white one was in there for a very long time. The difference of those things. It's like homeless, not homeless.
Panhandling, not panhandling.
Yeah. So all these wheels here, and then you have to go buy 1 million tires, and then you put on Netflix, and you sit here and you glue 8 billion sets of tires up.
Yep.
And then you blast through them because your son always thinks that he needs new tires. So,
well, that's what happens when your dad's Eric Reichert.
This dude, I like. Sometimes I wonder if he like even understands like what he had going on as a kid, because like he used to go downstairs like I wouldn't even be like awake. He would like wake up and get out of bed and like go downstairs at like 3 or 4 years old and just like take all my RC cars and put them like across the room in like this big like rally racing start and like just on the floor and stuff like that. And like I don't think he like, I mean, I don't know if I still have it. Yeah, here it is. This T-Max right here is E-Max I've had since he was like, it's actually, I think I've had it longer than him. But like on here is like little scribbles. The one time he found a marker and drew all over it.
Yeah.
And then like went over here to my BJ4 and drew all over the wheels on that too. And so like that, he was like maybe 3 or 4. And then, of course his father, parent of the year was sleeping still. So he like drew all of them, but like, just, like it never like phases him that I have like 400 RC cars,
Kane's is the same way. She could care less. She has no idea. I'm like, you get to go to so many cool places, meet so many cool people, do so much cool shit. You have all these toys that you can play with that you don't give a shit about. Like, because at least Eric races and shit. Kane's is like, whatever. I'm down to go to an event with you.
Just going to chill and play in the mud,
Yeah, that's all she wants to do. As long as there's mud, I'm gonna be happy.
Nothing wrong with that. So Eric's
going to be like 35 with a kid and be like, damn, I had it made. Be like, yes, you did.
Yeah. He's funny because like he'll just like talk to people like these are things that everybody does, and it's like between RC and then like beer too. Like he's been to like almost every brewery I've ever been to, and like like every now and then when like whatever, like we're having like people over or something, like I'll give him like a little sip of like some really expensive beer or something, but he'll just like drop that in conversation with like adults as if like it's just what everybody's done. He's like, oh yeah, he's like, I went to this IFMAR Worlds this one time and blah blah blah, and it's like, what are you talking about? Or like, I had this, I had a sip of this $800 beer, and it's like, things like that. It's like he has like no understanding that this isn't something that like most people do,
Yeah. But that's okay. It's kind of good that way too.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel like any special or privileged or any bullshit like that. It's just like you just lucked out and have a fucking golden life.
Right. Yeah. I think he'd be that kid that's like a raging asshole,
Right.
So
Like, I don't know if you guys watch Bluey, but it would be like Muffin. I'm the most specialist boy in the world.
right. Yeah, it cracks me up because like he'll go to VONATS and like he'll like jump right in with everybody too, and like like sometimes I have to remind him that he's like talking to adults, and I want him to like watch his manners a little bit more. But like for the most part, he's just like he'll like start like busting people's balls like we all do at the track and stuff like that. Like, bro, you're like 14.
Yeah, you're not quite on our level. You can throw a little in here and there, but you can't just come up like, "Oh, you suck, man! What a hack driver!" Fuck giving someone shit because they're gonna be like, "Who the fuck is this kid?"
My favorite thing he ever did was the guy that used to own a different track here in Connecticut. It's no longer around, but he had this like huge outdoor A-scale track, and he'd taken a like a shipping container and then had built the driver's stand on top of it. So underneath was like the like where he was, like the announcer's booth and stuff. And like he'd built like a wooden, it didn't have the doors on it, so he had like a wooden door that he had made on there, and he kept it locked because he left the computer in there. So Eric was like maybe 9 or 10 years old, and he was like totally infatuated with like 8th scale racing, and he wanted to like get one real bad. And I'm like, no, dude. I'm like, you're gonna kill somebody with that thing.
Yeah.
So I let the one time I took him, I let him run like 4-wheel drive short course like that day. And so it was like one of those things, and like he sees me like busting the guy's stones, like me and this the track owner were like really good friends and stuff, and he's like very, very conservative, like gun, like Second Amendment and all this stuff. And he's like, and I used to always walk in his store like, I'm here to take all your guns, I'm gonna give them all to Hillary Clinton, and like see everybody turn around and stuff like that. And so he'd like see me breaking this guy's stones all the time. So he decided he was gonna do it. And during the 8th scale main, which was like an hour long, he thought it would be funny to go up to that little door and put the padlock back on it and lock the guy in there. And so now the race is over, and the guy has now realized that he's locked in there, and he's like trying to announce over the PA to like somebody get me the key for the padlock. Yeah. And nobody can hear him because there's like 100 8th scale cars running, and like the only people that could hear would be
and it was all nitro back then.
They're now like no longer on the driver's stand. There's nobody up on the driver's stand to hear him. Like nobody can hear him in the pits. Everybody's packing up their stuff and leaving, and this dude is like starting to panic, and like it gets to the point where like so then like a few people started catching on, and they're like, what happened? They're like, little Eric locked him in the thing, and whatever. And like I'm laughing, and like Eric thinks it's hilarious, but this dude did not think it was funny whatsoever. And he came out of there boiling mad, and then like looks at Eric, and he's like realizes he can't like scream at this kid, but like really, really wanted to,
I'll still put someone else's kid in check if they pull some shit like that. Like I won't go scream and curse them out and shit, but I'll have a conversation with them.
He did. Like,
I know your dad. I know how it's gonna be. Like, we need to talk real quick here for 2 minutes.
Lester was a real good dude about it. He like took Eric to the side and was like, listen, you could really somebody could have a problem and blah blah blah, whatever. Exactly. And, if nobody heard me and things like that, like just talk to him as calmly as I think he possibly could. And I was like, damn, dude, I'm like, I want to strangle that little bastard.
Oh yeah, Cadence would get her ass kicked.
Yeah.
But it's good for him too, when someone else does take him aside and be like, look here, you little shit. Yeah. This is why you shouldn't have done that, blah, 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 blah. Okay, you got it? Excellent. Go play.
I will punch you right in your stupid little face.
Yep.
Funny, when I was younger, side of that, when I was younger, I grew up around a bunch of drag racers, street drag guys. And it was kind of the same thing. I would talk shit with them like I was an adult. Yeah. And I remember vividly when I stopped, because I was probably 7 or 8. And I was flicking shit with this big redneck motherfucker. And he was like, all right, we're gonna fuck around. And so finally he just bam, pops me in my arm. He's like, you little shit. And I'm like, oh fuck. What did I get into? And done right there. Never do it again.
I know this is real now. Yeah.
He's like, if you're gonna fuck shit, you better take the shit.
Right.
Yep.
Like this ass kicking is real.
Yeah.
Well, it went horrible to physical. And I was like, oh shit, I'm little.
Yeah. Right.
This dude can literally just grab me by my throat and pick me up and throw me.
Right.
Yep.
Oh,
Classic.
get him too.
I think we all went through that. I know I used to be the same way. The cadence is the same, you know, the apple never falls far. I always hung out with adults more often because I was an only child and a lot of my parents' friends didn't have kids when I was little. And so I'd go out with them to dinner and drinks and fall asleep on 2 chairs at midnight while they're still shooting shit and stuff, you know, till 1, 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
And you get comfortable and you give them shit, but then once in a while you go too far. And the women would never do anything. I think the women tend to go to the mom and be like, hey, can you discuss this with your boy? Whereas the men will be like, hey, you little fucker.
We'll just handle that ourselves.
Yep. And it's handled. It's done. The kid knows. It's like, oh, okay, lesson learned.
Yeah. It's funny because every year that we go, like the other thing that happens too is like in the summertime, like we get caught up with like work and all like soccer and all sorts of other stuff that like we don't generally race much. So then like VONATS comes around and that's sort of like the beginning of race season for us. Like we do that and then we start racing for the winter, you know? So like every year that we do it, like it's sort of the annual like beginning of race season for us. And like every year that Eric gets like another year older, it's like it's kind of funny to like see how he like has changed since like the last year. And then like, you know, like this year, like he's like 17 and he's driving and stuff like that. And like, it's super weird to like see him like now he really kind of is an age where he can like start kind of breaking balls on his own and I don't have to like check him so much, you know?
Yep. And someone else will, I always do. If he's giving me shit, I'll give him shit right back and be like, oh, you want to play an adult level? We'll go to adult level.
I just let them do it, and then just you gotta figure whoever's gonna straighten them out will straighten them out, you know.
Well, and you know it's all like friends, right? So you know you can trust them. Like someone's not really gonna punch him in the face or be like, "You stupid little motherfucker!" You know, go off. We'll just do the sly. Oh, you want to play games? All right, I can take 211 on you in a polite way here, real quick.
Right. Exactly.
But you know, it takes a village.
It sure does. Yeah, it's weird. I remember the first few years
rebuilding diffs now.
No, I'm just playing with them. Hey, I just got diffs sitting around, you know.
Yeah,
this one's nice. This one's nice and smooth. This one is not so much.
Smooth balls, rough balls. Got it.
So then I'm like trying to make like this like double diff situation here. I don't know.
Yeah, that'll work great.
That'll work awesome.
The most fucked up 6th gear I've ever seen.
Yeah, right. You really kind of could do it this way though. Like, I think if you get these like centered.
Just need a TIG welder and a fixture.
Nah, ADD kicks in, especially there's like all this stuff down here to play with. So
I did have fun rebuilding my ball diff.
I gotta bring this jar. You want to be afraid of this jar?
Wow,
this jar is also from like 2004, 2005. This is brushed motor dip. This stuff is the nastiest. Like if I open this, they'll smell it in Toledo. It's the stinkiest. I don't know what it is. Well, I do know what it is, but this stuff, if you put your brushless motor in here and break it in this, it'll be the fastest freaking drag motor you've ever seen in your life. So, but this stuff, I'm just like
the old Black Magic shit and stuff from back in the day.
Well, this is bought in a retail store, not a hobby shop, but going into
it is secret sauce too. So you won't say anything more than that. It's in a Vlasic pickle jar and it's bought from a retail store.
Yep.
That's all we get.
It just says motor dip. And this
look at the viscosity and the color and how much it bubbles real close.
Yeah, it's gross. It's real gross.
Start shaking bottles in the store.
It's like some hillbilly jar of moonshine. This is my special blend.
I thought it was moonshine at first. I'm like, oh, he's got some apple pie. All right.
Yeah,
bring that to VONATS. I'll drink it with you.
I mean, you want to get real off topic. I don't know if you guys know Don Rice that used to work for Futaba years ago. He was like their like R&D guy, and like he was like the guy who would go to all the races. Like back before they had a team, he was like the guy who would sponsor you if you ran for Futaba. That dude, he's from Huntsville, Alabama, and he is now Don's got to be like 75 or 80 years old, but he makes his own moonshine, but he makes it in the still that his great-great-granddad made out in the wood.
Hell yeah.
And he makes the most like authentic Southern like Prohibition era moonshine I've ever had in my life. It is amazing. It's absolutely fantastic. Every time somebody says moonshine, I think about Don Rice.
You need to, can you still get any?
No, he used to come to, in my oval days, I used to go to this dirt oval Custom Works US Open dirt oval race in Virginia that Tony Stewart used to put on every year. And Don would always come out for that race. Him and Jake Kimbrough was like his best friend. So like the two of them would come out, and like the three of us at night would sit there and play poker and tell lies and drink moonshine all night. So
Like VONATS then.
it was just like VONATS. Yep.
Because that's the thing, like a lot of people don't get. Like VONATS is pretty hardcore because we have fun till 2, 3, 4 in the morning.
Yeah,
we're
it's
up
not
in
like
the track practicing and racing at like 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Right. Because the track isn't open late, so you can't stay late and like wrench on your car all night.
Yeah.
So you have to go back and you have to like hang out and drink and have a good time.
Yes, you have to. It's mandatory.
Yep. So, but
That's what makes it fun.
Yep.
Hanging out and bullshitting.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, those were some good days. So my favorite Don Rice Moonshine Virginia Custom Works race story was the fact that the year that he made enough moonshine to like bring me my own, and like I spent the whole weekend drinking strawberry moonshine with him and like racing. And it was and like because I was doing that, I didn't qualify very well. I think I qualified for, this is how big this race was back then. I qualified for the M. That's like M.
Holy
like
shit!
The M main in
that's
in
a lot of
EDM
fucking drivers, man.
Modified EDM. And so thank God they had bump ups. And this was like when Scotty Ernst used to call this race, but this was like before Scotty Ernst was a thing. Like he just was like owned a little track in Wisconsin, was this like crazy dude that would like bring his own flags and like headset, and he was absolutely off the wall. And so I Sunday morning got up for my M main at like 6 a.m, qualified for the M main, ran my M main, won, bumped up to the L main, won, bumped up to the K main, won. I bumped all. And now, mind you, when you get to like an M main and there's only like 3 classes to begin with,
yeah,
the L main comes up in like 4 races.
Yeah.
So what we had done was, because we were running mod, the night before we built 10 single modified motors and 10 diffs. It was like, this is what this is from. It was like 10 diffs. And what would happen is the guy who sponsored me for batteries was TQ Cells, Steve Salvis. He got up with me and he would take my car off the track, go back to my pit, put a new battery in it, take the transmission out, and had a whole nother transmission with a whole nother diff and stick it in my car with the motor already bolted onto it. He would swap out my entire drivetrain and put a battery in while I corner marshaled, and then I would have to go right back up on the stand and race my next main. I bumped all the way to the C main.
Oh, geez.
Nice.
I raced all
hectic,
day,
dude. Like
I raced every 3 races until like 4 p.m. It was exhausting.
Yeah, I bet your ass was whooped, man.
It was all because of Don Rice and his strawberry moonshine. And then the best part, so then we leave Sunday night, and I drove like through the night from like the backwoods of Virginia all the way back to Connecticut, and came home and made my son.
Isn't it funny how you can remember exactly when they were conceived?
Yep.
I know exactly when Cadence was created too.
Yep. Yep.
I knew. I'm like, oh, she's pregnant.
Right after the 2005 Custom Works US Open. Open wheel.
Eric, you owe your life to RC cars and moonshine.
And Don Rice. The Silver Fox.
Was Don Rice's godfather?
He should be. No, actually, Greg Vogel is his godfather.
Really?
Yep.
I've only met Greg once. I met him at East Coast Scale Challenge in 2018 or 19.
Yeah.
He was cool. I didn't talk to him a whole lot, maybe 15, 20 minutes, but he was a cool guy.
Greg and I were very fast friends when we were little. We raced BMX bikes together. It was me and him and his little brother named Jeff, who, if we were like 9 or 10, Jeff had to be like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And we were racing one day. Saturday was BMX day, so my parents were the parents that like typical like Generation X. Like my parents were never like involved in any of this stuff. So I used to ride my bike down like a main state route, like what in a car is like. like a 15-20 minute ride in a car down a state route. I used to ride on my bike to go BMX racing at like
Yeah,
8,
that's what
9
we
years
did.
old, 10 years old or whatever.
Yep.
And so then like one day we were like up on the starting grid, and it was like me, him, and his brother Jeff. And I'm like, what's that thing over there? It looks like a little BMX track. He's like, oh, that's for RC cars. He goes, we race RC cars. And I'm like, oh, I have one of those things. I'm like, I have a Tamiya Hornet. And he's like, oh, you should bring it, race with us. So from then on out, I used to go Saturdays, ride my bike all the way there, race all day, and ride my bike home. And then Sunday morning, RC car in the backpack, Yoo-hoo juice boxes in the backpack, and ride my bike all the way back there and race RC cars all day, and then ride my bike all the way home.
Awesome.
What a beast.
Awesome.
An absolute BMX beast when I was like 11.
Yeah, right. Back 90 years ago.
Yeah. My Hornet, I brought my Hornet to race the first time I ever went racing. The first time I had ever driven my RC car like anywhere other than my own like front yard. I brought it to that track, and I think I broke every single piece of it. Every single piece of it was broken.
Well, I mean, it was to me a Hornet. What'd you expect?
Yeah.
Right.
You remember that episode of Punky Brewster
With the RC car in it, yep.
where they're
That one-
driving like hornets and frogs and grasshoppers and
There's that one, and then the other famous one is the
those girls can race too or something like that was the
Yeah.
title of the episode.
and then there was one with Married with Children where Bud is in an RC like team, and he has to like get his car ready to go racing. He's like,
oh,
an
I don't
RC
think I ever saw that one.
Yeah,
There's no way in fuck Al Bundy would have paid for an RC car racing habit.
no, 100% that dude could never afford RC cars.
Well, I don't know. He did pretty well slanging shoes. Peggy didn't do anything but eat bonbons and get drunk. He had 2
Yeah.
kids, and he still lived in a doper house than most of us can afford.
Different times.
Not gonna
Different
lie.
times.
Right? Exactly.
Especially
Back then,
especially
that
as a
house was
kid.
25K.
Especially as a kid, I knew a lot of kids that their family pretty much was like the Bundys, and they did race.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I gotta head out.
All right, buddy.
See you,
Yeah.
Ben.
Yeah,
Have a
good
good
talking to
night.
you. Good talking to you, Eric.
Thanks, you too.
17 and a half for stadium truck, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because that's what I just put in.
Yep.
I figure I'll solder it in the car. That way I get my wires right on. It's a little more of a headache, but whatever.
Yeah, I usually bring it.
Anybody? Oh, Sean left. Peace, Sean.
You've paid no attention to anybody that might be watching this.
Well, because usually I try, like I'm looking at it, but there haven't been any comments that jumped out, and you're pretty good at just continually spewing on without giving me a spot.
You don't say.
Something, and then by the time you give me half a second to interject, that comment is 3 minutes old, and I'm like, eh.
You had an entire time where my cell service kept cutting me off in my stories.
Yeah.
The back
But
road.
people
Why
weren't
would you
commenting as much. Sorry, I suck tonight, guys. It is what it is.
Except for that part where Jess took us on the back roads to get home. You had plenty of time to talk.
Yeah, but people, you weren't bullshitting as much. We weren't as deep into stuff. People weren't commenting as much. A couple people joined in since then.
I get into my thing. I get talking, you know?
Yeah, well, I can't wait.
Oh, I do it.
Now we're gonna be doing the same shit.
Can't
Actually,
even
probably at
believe
the
it.
same time. What time are you getting into? You get into Doubletree Thursday, right?
Yeah, but I'll be there like early afternoon because I have to go to the track and hang up
Set up.
banners and get myself situated because I don't really have the time to do it the
Go,
rest of the time.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
How many you got? Any idea? It's pretty much going to be the whole same crew, aside from probably a couple newbies and a couple people like Dave
Yeah.
missing and stuff. Eh?
There's always the like one in, one out, but we usually get 40, 50 guys, and it's usually like 100 to 140, 130, 40 entries.
Yeah, because all of us race at least 2 classes for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially with the 2-day schedule like that, it kind of makes sense for most people to bring something for the second day. And
Yep. Well, I like
Just
the
to
way
make-
you set it up this year. It's gonna work well. Chris,
I'm
like
trying.
when Chris got a hold of me, and was like, I totally forgot we talked about this, but months ago, like shortly after VONATS, or it might have been at VONATS last year. He's like, well, if you want to run heavy metal, dude, I got tons of trucks. I can bring you one. Because I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't really pack a giant monster truck like I can race buggies,
yeah, he drives
And,
down. I mean,
And I forgot about it. And he got a hold of me like a week ago. He's like, yeah, so you still want me to bring you a truck?
yeah.
fuck, that puts me in 5 classes.
Yeah.
Like,
it's super fun.
He's like, well, the truck will be
year.
ready to go. He's like, I'll have a separate battery for it so I can be on charging it and all that stuff. It'll be ready. So you won't have to fuck around. I'm like, okay, as long as it's not too crazy and I'm not wrenching on a car that's broke or something I have to fix.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, and if you can't drive it, not a big deal.
This is the year to do it because Dwayne will be there too. And when Dwayne gets racing monster trucks with me and Chris, it gets really ridiculous. So
I still think our race, maybe it was my first year. And
yeah, that was a good race too.
Was one of the best. Like, most people would have been shitting, but because of we are who we are and how we roll,
like whatever.
We were literally like running each other over in the corners. Like,
yep.
One of us, I'd be on his ass, he'd be on my ass, and take the inside line right on the apex like you should. And the other one would be like, fuck it, and just drive over him. And then 2 corners later, the other guy would cut around and clip him and slip him into the pipes, and we were bad. It was awesome. I think everyone was waiting for us to start yelling. And we just kept looking at each other like, you fucker, and then we start laughing, you know.
I don't tolerate any of that fuss at this race either. There's no reason to be yelling over these cars, you know?
Nah, you're there to play with old toy cars and have fun, dude. We're old men playing with toys, whatever.
Right, exactly. So
like, how bad can life be?
Yeah. So I just want everybody to come and have fun, you know?
Yep.
That's all it really comes down to. Yeah. We're not crowning world champions or anything here. It's just a chance to play with stuff that you otherwise would never put down on the ground and drive, you know?
Yeah, because you don't find there's some club race tracks and shit that have vintage classes and whatnot, but it's pretty rare.
Yeah. That part's weird to me. Like, there was like the one year that they had the Reedy race, like one of the last years at the Reedy race that when it was at OCRC that they did like a vintage class. It was like the year the RC10 came back out. And they had like a vintage class that year. And it was like the strangest thing to me, like, especially like I know those guys and like whatever, and that's cool. And like a lot of it's just part of my life, but like it's still very surreal to like see somebody else doing something that like kind of started and like got going, you know?
Yeah.
That, like, like we wouldn't all be doing this if I hadn't like put the stupid race together a long time ago, you know? So it's like, it's fun, but like at the same time,
it's like the combination of all of it. You know, you started VONATS, Dirk started old school RC, which isn't like it used to be. But God, for like 10 years, man, we were all on that page all the time. Then Jason has stayed true to us and putting out wheels and tires and bodies and hop-up parts for shit that hasn't been produced in 30 years.
Yeah, I'd love to get him to come someday. I think he has a like a real 10 scale race here. It's this weekend, actually. It's in Connecticut. So it's always been kind of tough that like his race is right before my race and stuff.
I thought it was like always the same weekend or close to it.
Yeah, we purposely don't do it the same. There was like one year we did it by accident. We had the same weekend, but I I just wait until they announce theirs and I kind of put mine around it somewhere so it's not on the same weekend.
Yeah.
But it's always kind of been one of the prohibitors of him coming to the race. So he came one year, the year that Brian came to the race. It was him and Brian
that year.
That was a really fun year.
That was a long time ago though, right? Like 10 years ago.
Yeah, that was like 2014 or 15, I think.
Okay, almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, so geez, Brian's been gone now for what, 5 years probably.
Yeah, it's been a while. So, but he came out for that one. That was fun. And that was the year he also got Gotti Jr. to come out and goof around with us and stuff. And that was a lot of fun that year.
Well, I've missed all the years. Like I know there's been years you guys have had Cliff there and Brian and all these guys, and I've never been there for them. I'd love to be there a year when like Cliff or Jay Halsey or any of those old guys comes out, you know.
You know what's funny with those guys? Like from day one. So when I like first, like the problem with my brain is I can never leave anything alone. So like, in 2007 we were like, oh, let's all get together. You know, we always run our cars everywhere. Like, let's just rent a track somewhere and have like a swap meet and just hang out. You know.
Yeah.
And within maybe 3 hours, like on my lunch break, I had like developed it into like we're gonna have a race and we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. And we're going to leverage the fact that I'm a magazine guy, so I know all these people. And I remember I called Jay Halsey on my lunch break and was like, Jay, I want to do a race and it's going to be old cars and blah, blah, blah. And I want you to come out and I want you to be there. you know, and like we're gonna do like a whole thing, like you're gonna race against us, and like maybe I'll get other drivers, and we'll have like a class for you guys,
Yeah.
and like he's the problem with Jay Halsey is that he does like a lot of like movie special effects stuff, like with RC cars and stuff. So he works in the movie
Probably
industry.
back from the Deadpool days. That's probably when he got his foot in the door for that.
Right. So, but he does like a lot of like not radio control cars, but like remote control, like boom arms and like all sorts of other stuff.
Yeah.
That he does a lot in the movie industry. And then at the time he used to have like a full scale like off-road racing team that he raced on and stuff. And so he was always like too busy to come.
And he had the Jam and J products with Offna for a long time.
Yeah, he had that, was like in the height of that also. So like he had all this stuff going on, so he like couldn't come and he could never get there. And I always had this like dream of like 1 year getting like at least like 4 or 5 of those guys together and like just making like a masters class of like all those guys.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like just let people watch them race. And it was funny, the first time I ever got Cliff to come, and I was telling him, I'm like, you know, I'm like, I can't get these guys to come to this thing. And I was telling my whole idea of like a master's class. He's like, Eric, he says, you'll never get any of us to drive. And I said, why? He says, because we're not who we used to be. He says, we're all old men now and we can't see as well as we used to. And we, you know,
reaction times aren't the same.
Because
yeah, whatever.
You'd be hard pressed to get these guys to let anybody see how they drive now. And I'm like, like that sucks, you know?
Yeah, right.
And like every single year, like Cliff would come. Like Cliff was really good about it. He came a bunch of years, and he used to love to like come and tell all his stories and stuff. And
yeah,
it was really fun those days. And you know, he would come and every single year, like Cliff, why don't you race with us? You know, why don't you? I'll put you in 2-wheel drive. I'll put you in this. He's like, nah. And then it was like the 1 year.
What you're saying, where you give them their own class, then they're not having the threat of some novice beat them.
Yeah,
I guarantee that was part of it. Is, well, we don't want to race them because what if someone beats us?
Right. Well, that's
God forbid we come in second or third place.
Right. They're not the racers that they were in like 91, you know?
Yeah, so, and they're not racing 8 hours a day, staying on top of it.
Right.
They've moved on to other things.
Right. So the funny thing, so the 1 year I finally, it was at the old track before where we are now. We actually got him to, like, we were just kind of goofing around. And, like, somebody had like a wheelie car out there. And he actually got to like drive, like came up on the stand, like drove the wheelie car around for a little while. He's like, you know, he's like, this is actually really fun.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah, why don't you try and do it with us? And I was like, no. They like quickly like gave the radio back and stuff.
You're not getting me suckered in, you bastards. I see what you're doing now.
Well, like especially now he's like retired, so he's not even like associated anymore for me to hassle him and stuff.
Yeah, you retired a year or two ago now, right?
Yeah. Yep. So, but yeah, lately I've been talking to Gil Losi Jr. a lot the last couple of years, especially since they came out with those little mini cars, about like having him come out, you know, and like RC Excitement is a very big Losi track too. So like, you know, like
and Toddy are huge Losi guys.
Yeah, Toddy's been a team driver for a long time and stuff. So like he would be like a no-brainer, you know, and it was like super easy to like go through the powers that be at Horizon to like get an okay and all that stuff. And it was like he was going to come last year, and then his father died like a couple weeks before the race, and it was like no, that was the end of that. So and then like this year they're still trying to get all this stuff together and like, you know, waiting for life to settle down. But I'm hoping maybe I can get him out here one of these years.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear you talking about that because that means VONATS is going to keep going. But I know all the conversation will be Sunday night. Sunday night is going to be like, God damn it, I don't know if I'm going to do this anymore. What a pain in the ass.
No, you know when it is? Sunday is the best time to talk to me about it, because that's when I'm all like pumped up on like hanging out with my friends all weekend, having a good time. Then I'm like all in. It talked to me like a month to 2 months before the race next year, like May or June of next year. And I'm like, I don't care about this race anymore. I'm not even doing it. My heart's not in it, blah, blah, blah. And then as we get closer, like tonight we were at dinner and I told Jess, I'm like, you know, I'm finally really excited for the race this year. Like, because I know it's like coming up next year, like next week.
Yeah.
All my work is done. I got the shirts made. I got trophies being made. I got all my door prizes. Like everything's done. So now I can just have a good time.
You got a hold of the slackers that didn't send you sponsor logos till last minute at midnight last night.
Man, that was really at the buzzer. That was really at the buzzer, Nick.
Well, you didn't hit me. You hit me up like a month and a half ago and I forgot, and then never.
And then I hit you up.
So that's on you.
No, and then I hit you up last week too.
Oh, that's probably right. Yeah. You gotta email me at the shop, man. Everyone tries to do business with me and shit via text and messenger, and that shit just gets lost. If it's on email, it's like my brain knows, put it on lock.
Well, the
And if
good
I
thing
read it and I know I got to get back to it later, I can mark it as unread. And when I see my emails, it's still bolded, you know, and I'm like, oh yeah, do that.
So the good thing
Messenger,
is now,
fuck, dude,
now that
it's gone.
now that you sponsored the race twice, once for the hobby shop and once with your other thing, I now have all your logos, so I never have to ask you for one again.
Good.
So, yeah.
Well, who knows? What if I start another endeavor I sponsor with next year for fun? I'll sponsor this gear jammer, even though it's 1/14th RC part.
Just to make me get another logo last minute.
Yep. At the last minute before you have to send artwork in.
Yeah, you know, when the trophy guys
That's good. I still have my trophies from last year sitting here.
Yep.
Dude, I'm not a big into like winning trophies and shit and whatnot. I don't really care. But winning these 3 last year was fucking dope, dude.
That's only half the trophy, though. You gotta show the people the rest of the trophy.
Well, I don't have the base handy and whatnot. It's one of those, they know what it is. It's got the brown black base.
Hold on.
Up in different colors.
Let me get my second place 4-wheel drive A-Main trophy.
Although I told people I was only going to bring 1 winning car for concourse this year.
Yeah.
But I forgot about one, so I lied. I'm bringing 2 again.
All right. Here we go. So
I'm shooting for best of show and most original again.
Nice. All right. So here is the trophy.
Mm-hmm.
Except, yeah, buddy. Hold on. Let's really get. There we go.
You got to put it on the one that goes through the whole.
But if you're like, yeah, like I don't like red, well, maybe like green, or maybe like blue, or
there's one that flashes through them all. I think.
Yeah, it's here somewhere. It's purple.
That's Cadence's favorite. It's the purple.
This one kind of like eventually changes through each one.
Yeah.
And then there's that one.
And like
light up trophies, buddy.
If you do reasonably well racing, you actually have a shot at getting one. Because I mean, you can be like top 3 in the B main and still get one.
Yep.
That's what my racing one was for. Was like 3rd place in B main or something. I was like, all right.
Well, that's like that's the thing to me. Like
3rd loser in the loser class. Yes.
I don't like, my thing with this whole race is like we're not going to put on. It's just a pile of B5s.
It happens.
We got it in our head that we were going to race rear motor. Yeah, there's all my yoga masks. And all my stuff here. There's more.
It's amazing how we collect shit like that. It's like, why do I need 14 of these?
These are actually these are my VONATS pit mats because these fit exactly on this pit spaces at RC Excitement.
Oh yeah, and you don't fuck it like Eric does not fuck around when it comes to his pit space.
Those are Jess's. Really stuff here.
Of course.
But yeah. But like my whole thing with the race is that like, we're not gonna put this on a race resume. We're just there to have fun.
Yep.
But like, to me, like part of that is that you should always go home with a door prize and you should always go home with some sort of like something in your hand, So
oh yeah, and you're good about getting plenty of shit from sponsors. Like everyone
I try every year I panic that I don't have enough door prizes. Like I'm not gonna lie, I'm even panicked that I don't have enough door prizes.
Here's a couple of mine from last year that clearly I've used a lot.
From Valkyrie.
But see, I don't need my tire panel anymore because I can't run classic anymore.
Well, your RC10 can't, but you just get another car, buddy.
I have enough cars. I'm not buying another one.
So
4 class is enough. Unless I maybe in a few years if Cadence is older, I'll pull her out of school for a day or something and be like, all right, you're my pit crew. Now I can race classes.
Do you know what's happening for the first time this year? My son, so we used to always have to take Eric out of school, and like his mom would always freak out that it's like 2 days of school missed and everything else. And then like the Monday afterwards, he's no good either, and blah blah blah. Yeah. He is driving himself to the race this year.
Oh, so that's why you're staying through Sunday night this year.
So no, I'm not. We're still going home Sunday, but
okay. I thought you were staying Sunday night.
Yeah, no, we're gonna go home Sunday, but
that's only a 2-hour drive for you, right?
Yeah, it's like 2.5 hours probably. Yeah. But no, he's actually just, instead of me having to like jam my car with 3 people's worth of stuff and 3 people, we now have we can put stuff in Eric's car and drive it up too. He'll be up on Friday,
Yeah.
Like he's coming up on his own. Like it's the strangest thing to me.
Yeah, that's got to be weird, man. I just watched this movie yesterday while I was working on this thing called Eighth Grade that Bo Burnham, the comedian of all people, directed. I just happened across it and looked at it and was like, "Oh, that sounds interesting." And holy shit, at 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. That never happens. I guess I'll watch it, dude. It was such a good movie.
Yeah, it's called
I'm just sitting
Grade.
here working on RC cars, like it nails being in 8th grade. I mean, it's modernized, kind of like for his generation where they've had cell phones and shit. But like, oh, I guess Eric's gone. His phone must have just died. All right. Well, he's gone. We've been bullshitting long enough, anyways. Yeah, it's 10:41. We're just droning it on bullshitting. But thank you everyone for showing up and bullshitting. Those of you that did, sorry I wasn't better on the comments, but you know, Eric was providing plenty of entertainment. Everyone have a wonderful night and a great Labor Day weekend if you're stateside, and be well. Peace. Later, Reckless.